Welcome to the Coaches Hub podcast, where we share ideas and strategies to elevate your coaching. Today's topic, coaching styles and how they shape player learning, growth, and performance. We'll explore key approaches from authoritative to democratic, transformational to laissez-faire, and when to use each for maximum impact. The best coaches adapt their style to their players, team goals, and the moment. Finding the right fit isn't just about your squad, it's about the coach you choose to be. Let's dive in.
What really makes a coach great? I mean, is it the person calling all the shots? Or maybe that quieter mentor type who just, helps you find your own way? It's not just sports, right? This applies anywhere. Guidance is key. We're someone shaping growth and performance. The fascinating thing is there's no single answer, no perfect mold. It's more like a spectrum of coaching approaches. So today we're doing a deep dive into exactly that. We want to understand these different coaching styles, especially in soccer, and look at the impact they have, which can be pretty profound. Our main guide for this is a really insightful article from the Coaches Hub. It's called Soccer Coaching Styles, Finding the Right Fit.
Yeah, and our mission here for you listening is to pull out the key takeaways from that Coaches Hub piece. We want to help you get a real handle on how these different coaching approaches shape learning, growth, performance, and not just on the field, but, beyond that too. It's about looking past the X's and O's, the tactics, and really seeing the human side of coaching.
Absolutely. So expect some, maybe surprising bits and practical insights. Hopefully we can shortcut you to feeling well-informed on this. Okay, let's unpack this. So the Coaches Hub article starts right off by making a big point. The coach's style goes far beyond designing tactics and running training sessions. It really deeply shapes how players learn, how they grow, how they perform.
Guess what? That's quite a statement, isn't it? It means it's about so much more than just winning the next game.
It really is. And that point from the Coaches Hub is fundamental. It reminds us that the coach's influence touches pretty much every part of a player's experience. So understanding these styles, it's not just like nice to know. The article says it's essential for fostering a positive and effective team environment. And think of it, this applies broadly, right? Leading a sports team, a project at work, even a volunteer group. Your leadership style shapes the whole dynamic, the learning, the outcome. You could have the best plan, but if the style doesn't connect well, it can fall flat. Okay, so with that bigger picture set, let's zoom in. Let's talk about some specific styles the article outlines. First up, authoritative coaching. This sounds pretty much like what you'd expect, right? A firm approach, very directive. It emphasizes discipline, structure, following clear guidelines. You know the type. Setting clear rules and expectations, giving very specific instructions, and prioritizing team goals over what individuals might prefer. It's very orderly.
Right. And the interesting thing is this can be really effective. The Coaches Hub points out it's good for youth teams needing structure, as they learn the ropes, or for teams in those really high-pressure moments where absolute clarity and discipline are just crucial. Like, think about a final play call. No time for discussion, just do it. But there's a big but. The challenge, the article notes, is it may limit creativity and player autonomy if it's the only style used.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you risk creating players who just wait for instructions instead of thinking for themselves, problem solving. You might get short-term compliance, but maybe lose long-term adaptability.
That makes total sense. So if authoritative is top-down, clear direction, what about flipping that? Empowering the players.
That brings us to the next style, democratic coaching. Quite a contrast.
Yeah, this one actively encourages players to get involved in making decisions. The idea is to foster a sense of ownership, of accountability. So instead of just taking orders, players actually have a say. You'll see coaches collaborating with players on goals, on strategies. They encourage open feedback, support players taking charge of their own development. It sounds much more collaborative.
It definitely is. And this style really thrives with, say, experienced teams, players who already have a good understanding, or in situations where building team cohesion and leadership within the team is the main goal. Getting that buy-in from seasoned players by involving them, that's huge, builds collective wisdom. But it's not instant. The article highlights the challenge. It requires time and patience to implement effectively.
Right.
You can't just flick a switch and say, we're democratic now. It takes real effort to build that trust, those communication channels. It's an investment.
Okay, now let's shift focus a bit. There's a style that looks beyond just winning the game, focusing more on the person. The article calls this holistic coaching. So the core idea here isn't just about soccer skills. It's about the player's overall development as an athlete and as a person. It emphasizes life skills alongside the technical stuff. This means like prioritizing player well-being, their personal growth, encouraging things like self-reflection, resilience, using the sport itself as a tool to teach life lessons.
Yeah, and this is particularly powerful for long-term development programs or when you're working with younger athletes. It's about nurturing the whole individual, understanding that the benefits might show up in ways beyond just the scoreboard. It kind of asks, what's the real goal here? Just wins or building character? The challenge mentioned is that the results may take longer to manifest on the field. If you're purely focused on immediate wins, this approach might feel slow.
A bit frustrating, maybe.
Potentially, but the depth of development it can foster, that often requires that patience.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, I think. We've talked about empowerment, holistic views. But what about a style that's all about control? Let's look at autocratic coaching. This one's defined by, well, total control. The coach makes all the decisions. It's very top-down, no negotiation, really. You'd recognize it by direct authoritative communication. Players are expected to follow instructions without asking questions. And there's a really strong focus on hitting short-term goals. It's the coach's vision, executed.
And believe it or not, this can actually work according to the Coaches Hub, especially in those high-stakes games or situations needing immediate, decisive action. Like, think of a critical moment where there's just no time for debate. A leader has to make the call, and everyone needs to follow instantly.
Makes sense in that context.
But the downsides are pretty significant if it's the default mode. The article warns it can lead to player dissatisfaction and burnout if used excessively.
Yeah, I can see that.
Constantly being told what to do with no input, it can just crush morale, stifle any initiative. Players might just check out mentally over time.
Right. Okay, switching gears, again, almost the opposite direction, it feels like. The article describes transformational coaching. This sounds much more about inspiration.
Exactly. The core aim here is to inspire, to motivate players to reach their absolute full potential. It focuses on shared values, a compelling vision, personal growth. It's about uplifting people. You'll see these coaches building really strong relationships. They act as mentors, as role models. They inspire through positivity, through a shared vision everyone buys into. Less like a boss, more like a guide.
And this approach is incredibly powerful for building team morale, that deep sense of commitment over the long haul. When players feel genuinely valued, believed in, part of something bigger, they'll give everything, not just for the game, but for each other, for that vision.
That sounds amazing.
It is, but here's the interesting part about the challenges. The Coaches Hub notes they're often about the coach themselves. It requires a high level of emotional intelligence and personal investment.
You can't fake this style. It demands real empathy, listening skills, a genuine connection. That takes a lot out of the coach, personally. It's demanding.
Okay, one more style to cover. This one sounds the most hands-off. It's called laissez-faire coaching. Yeah, the name kind of gives it away. It's a very hands-off approach. It allows players significant freedom, autonomy in making decisions and solving problems on their own.
Yeah.
So you'd see minimal intervention from the coach, maybe during training or even matches. They encourage players to take initiative, support them in directing their own learning. It's like the coach steps back and trusts the players.
And this can be super effective with highly skilled, maybe veteran teams, or in individual training where the player already knows what they need to work on. It can foster amazing creativity, real fluidity. But the big caveat, the key challenge here is balance. The article points out it may lead to a lack of structure and direction if not balanced. Apply this to a team that actually needs more guidance or younger players, it could just become chaotic, Not productive freedom, just mess. Context is everything for this one.
Wow, okay. So we've gone through quite a range there. Authoritative, democratic, holistic, autocratic, transformational, and laissez-faire. From tight control to almost complete freedom. So, after exploring all that, what's the takeaway? How do you actually use this knowledge? The Coaches Hub article has a section on choosing the right style, which kind of pulls it all together.
Yeah, and the conclusion they reach is, I think, really insightful. It says, the most effective coaches adapt their style to the needs of their players, the goals of the team, and the context of the situation. So it's not about finding the one perfect style and sticking to it rigidly. It's about being flexible, adaptable.
Right.
And it really emphasizes that a balanced approach that incorporates elements of multiple styles often yields the best results. Think about it. A team might need that firm, authoritative hand in a crisis moment, but maybe democratic input when planning the season's goals, and perhaps a holistic touch for developing younger players.
The one size doesn't fit all.
Exactly. The best coaches, like the best leaders in any field, have a whole toolkit of approaches they can draw on. Versatility is key.
Makes perfect sense. And the article wraps this up nicely in its final thoughts, saying that understanding and applying different coaching styles is a vital skill for any soccer coach, and that tailoring your approach is what truly fosters growth, teamwork, and success. It really drives home that this isn't just, theory. It's practical leadership skill. So we've journeyed through this landscape of coaching styles, from that strict authoritative hand to the freedom of laissez-faire and the uplifting power of transformational coaching. The big insight, drawing heavily from the Coach's Hub, seems to be that great coaching isn't about sticking to one script. It's about adaptability, about knowing when to use which approach based on the people and the situation.
Absolutely. Which leads to a really good question for you, the listener, to think about, and the source material kind of poses this too. How do you figure out which style, or maybe which blend of styles, best fits the unique needs of your players, your team? And how can mixing these approaches unlock their potential while still staying true to your own core vision as a coach or a leader?
Exactly. Something to chew on. Whether you're actually coaching, leading a team in another context, or just curious about what makes guidance effective, we hope this deep dive gave you some valuable perspective. Thanks so much for joining us.
That's it for today's episode of the Coach's Hub podcast. Remember, there's no single perfect coaching style. The most effective coaches adapt, blending approaches to match their players' needs, the team's goals, and the demands of the moment. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a fellow coach, subscribe for more insights, and explore our full library of resources at www.soccer-profile.com. Until next time, keep learning, keep adapting, and keep striving to be the coach your players need.